Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.
See right there, classically non-violent adventure game protagonist. Carries his scythe with the blade pointing the wrong way. Thus it can bludgeon at best. Welcome to the land of the dead, 8th underworld to be exact. The place the dead go when they get assigned their transportation to paradise. The DoD or Department of the Dead then checks what package they qualify for. The better they were in life, the more pleasant the trip will be. And who has this tremendous responsibility? Manuel Calavera, our Noir-inspired hero, and his most recent client turns his life upside down. Such broad shoulders. That's all bone. And such defined lines on his palm. Must make his death prediction incredibly easy. Let's start with the visuals. It's very creative. It has so many distinct and memorable stills. Very striking design and almost photorealistic. For the most part. Sure enough, it's showing its age. But that design still overwhelmingly holds up. The early game corporacy, designed in a style the developer says is named Maya Deco. Incredibly dramatic camera angles. Plus some weirder stuff. Still looks lovely in my opinion. It's been remastered a bit, but as far as I can tell, most of the effort went into improving the 3D elements. So essentially, they gave the skeletons a good sanding. And it really doesn't seem like they did anything to the cutscenes, as they are the least visually impressive element in the game now. But in spite of that, the game still holds up well. Photorealistic stills don't really age that badly. It's really dark and gritty, externalizing the noir, if I'm allowed to go a bit pretentious. It has so many noir influences and I didn't get all of the references. I had to be helped by the optional developer commentary. That's one of the treats they threw in with the remaster. But not everyone is as much of a gaming history nerd as I am. But to those of you who are open to it, it's interesting. Sometimes it's dry and technical and difficult to understand, especially since technological developments probably mean that the subjects are difficult to understand in a vastly different way nowadays. But other times it's funny and evokes nostalgia for a development team you probably don't know much about, as well as people you probably never even knew existed, who were instrumental in creating what is, in my opinion, a classic. And in my case, there was only one situation where the commentary spoiled things for me and told me what to do before I did it. But I was alert to anything that could sound like a possible hint. And it's the second time I've played this game, so maybe it's not a risk worth taking for you. Another improvement the remaster gave us, you don't have to use the cumbersome tank controls anymore. But you can if you want to. There's even an achievement for using them to complete the game. But I chose ease over glory. The music is great, and also noir inspired. I was usually very focused on the dialogue, but sometimes you just can't ignore it, evoking some sublime mystery and tension. With some more mischievous tracks to accompany Manny's hijinks as well. It's filled with some nice noir brass. Makes this weird place feel serious. In fact, most of the tone of the game is serious in spite of all the gags and adventure gameness. It's something really cool. The visuals, the music, the story, it all comes together to create something brilliant. It revolves around a strange conspiracy and outstanding world building. People get silenced, wit is exchanged, all while most of the people are trying to pass on. That's an odd jawline. Belongs on a violin. It's well written and everything achieves something so rare in video gaming. It has enough originality and quality that I believe, if handled correctly, this could actually make a good film. If handled correctly. And that speaks volumes of the game's creative merit. Usually writing in a video game is good because it links into an aspect of video gaming. The fact that you play as a character for longer periods of time than you watch a character on screen. You embody them, and that instills a greater level of connection to the character and thus elevates the writing. And probably a lot of times if you were to take the writing of a video game and transplant it to a different medium so that the quality is more prominently displayed, it, standing on its own legs, would fail. But this world is brilliant. The writing's good, the dialogue's good, and if you're aiming for an animated feature, this game's voice acting is great. One of the main characters is voiced over by Maria Canals-Barbera. I believe before she voiced over Hawkgirl.
Ever cheated on your taxes?
I've never paid taxes in my life.
Aha.
I've never made enough money to be taxed. You know, it's mostly been all volunteer work.
Oh, now I get the gag. Those are cause ribbons. As said, the visuals are great, and they managed to squeeze out a surprising amount of emotion from skulls. And Manny Calavera is a great hero. He's Humphrey Bogart. It's absolute punishment. Seriously though, the commentary says that Mr. Bogart was their main influence for Manny, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone on the development team already made that joke at some point. Theoretically, so much of this game can be carried over, without changing what makes it great, to possibly lead to a great film. Except for all the puzzle solving, of course. Only keep the funniest ones. Speaking of, how is that gameplay? Well, it's an adventure game that doesn't really have combination puzzles. I believe they say as much in the commentary, and I've noticed it doesn't even have minigames either. It's more of a case of take this here after you've done that there. They say they even went as far as to design it without really having an interface. So all you have is this snazzy animation of Manny taking things in and out of his coat pocket. You have to listen for hints and apply logic as to where those items should go. Sometimes it will take a while to figure it out, but usually it's fairly simple, if you listen to the characters talking. There's no journal that records dialogue, which is a nice touch that respects your intelligence but is potentially frustrating. But some people will prefer this more straightforward frustration to the more moon logic end of the spectrum. But on the other hand, as an avid point-and-click lover, it's never caused me harm. I'm not even completely sure what moon logic is. And usually if I don't find a solution, I blame myself. This straightforward gameplay emphasizes how gargantuan the package is, because in spite of it, it still has a respectable length for the genre. It took me 14 hours to complete. Not the most lengthy adventure game, but not the shortest. And it is cheap on Steam. 159 Rand full price, 47 Rand 70 on sale. That's 3 Rand 41 per hour of gameplay. You know, if you don't skip all the dialogue. Which is pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. But the download size is quite big, as it takes up 5.25 gigabytes on the hard drive. Don't worry though, it does work on the Warhorse, but only if you use the original graphics. It may seem like they didn't do much to the game visually with the remaster, but they did enough to it that the remastered visuals results in a black screen in between those grey bars on the sides, with the audio still functioning on the Warhorse. So you may feel a bit jilted if you can't use the remastered visuals, because its value, whatever that is, was probably included in the price. But at the very least, the original render mode does work quite well on the Warhorse. And the game is kid-friendly for the most part. But there are one or two issues. Firstly, they use the M word to refer to someone's height. And secondly, at times Manuel does speak Spanish. And according to the commentary, Manny's voice actor Tony Plana says one of the words he used is considered rude in Cuba, but in some other countries, it's considered a swear. So if you speak Spanish, and you don't come from Cuba, then this game may be a bit racier for you and your kids. Also, sprouting, the replacement we're killing in this game, does have quite the extreme effect on a skeleton, that some may consider violent, but I maintain a lot of kids can handle this game. But do beware, I'm a massive fan of this game. Combine that with the hype this game historically receives, and the review may be skewed towards the positive. The game has great visuals, designed with oddity and grit. And that design does hold up. But the graphics are showing their age, especially the cutscenes. And also, not all of the stills are great. Some of them don't have those dramatic cinematic angles, or the same level of quality design, leaving the aged graphics to fend for themselves. The game has good music that gives a nice noir feeling, filled with suspense and mystery. It has great noir and Mexican folklore-inspired world building. It has a good story and dialogue. It's funny. Manny can be quite deadpan. And the journey is lovely and bizarre. Plus, it has great extensive voice acting. Everything comes together to create something unique and cool. Something brilliant. On the maybe side, the remaster didn't really seem to change much. A few things visually, added some nice optional developer's commentary, if you're into that sort of thing, as well as the option for easier movement controls. But I did see that at least one glitch was still present. On the con side, I've seen people comment that the game is simplistic in terms of its puzzles. And I suppose that's fair, because as long as you listen to the appropriate dialogue, you will hear the necessary hints to set you on your way. But if you're not gonna listen to the dialogue, it's not gonna help. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't care for story in a video game, the kind that likes to skip dialogue, this game probably isn't for you. And sometimes you don't even realize that what was said is a clue. Or you just missed something, feeling the sting of no journal that logs conversations. After listening to most of the dialogue, I managed to come to the conclusions logically. Thus, this game's puzzling is very simplistic and straightforward, but it must be said that some people prefer that, over the sometimes convoluted nature of adventure games usually. Come on, play it. This brilliant, beautiful... What? Whoa. Maybe this game is racier than I thought.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.